with Hanami when even just by clapping, he couldn't have made that any more hilarious in the fight. Like, I could not stop laughing as they're fighting because it's just amazing. Like,
AoA, that's a triple play. New episodes, I couldn't wait. Yeah, open your mind at the first gate. Press play, no need to debate. AoA, check me out. Look, clocked in, you can catch the hype. Golden Dawn, how we follow the light. Anime like life, married to it, my wife.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of all ages? Welcome back to the AOA show. I'm your host, as always, Ian, along with the boy Gavin.
what's Gucci flip flop?
And don't mind the one camera setup. I forgot mine at home. So this is what we're doing today. We're getting a little up close and intimate with you guys. But we are here today to talk about Jujutsu Kaisen episode 20. This one's called Non-Standard. Just got off the heels of our live reaction. So if you haven't checked that out yet, you definitely want to do so. It's on our AOA Reacts channel. The link is in the description down below, along with all of our other live reactions to things. So if you don't want to miss a moment of the fun, definitely go subscribe to the channel, check that out, and then head on back for our discussion. But anyway, here we are, and we're going to talk about it. So number one, Todo beating the shit out of that kid, and then the reveal of who I am saying, and I think you agree, it's got to be Yuji's mom, right?
Yuji.
Itadori.
Whoa, wow, that was a weird. I was like, Yuji. I
got him.
Whoa, wow, that was a weird brain fart.
It's got to be his mother, right?
It has to be. It has, and if it's not, it's going to be. There's no way that it's not going to be his mom.
Like, it's got to be.
It's got to be. And like, what is that weird robotic serpent that's floating around? I don't know. That's
her thing.
I'm about it.
Well, honestly, though, I mean, not that there's proof, but there are a couple things to potentially back this whole pattern of thought here, in the sense that Itadori's parents are not in the picture in the start of the show. He's been raised by his grandfather. I don't know if he asks what happened to them, but it's implied that we really don't know, right? And Yuji, or Itadori, along with being just a Olympic athlete in high school, just in general, seems to be gifted with the ability to wrangle someone like Sukuna, right? So I don't think that's just purely up to the fact that he's just built different in the sense that he's very athletic, and it's we found this random kid, and that's great. I think that there's a level of efficiency with cursed energy or something that has to probably run down the bloodline that makes that possible, because we also find out in some prior episodes here about some of the clans, right? And the fact that Fuji is from some, and Nobara, or not Nobara, Maki and Mai and all that, and how they each have different abilities that are bestowed upon them, and all that kind of stuff that runs in their bloodline. So I would not be surprised if Itadori, if this adds up to be his mother, would have, and she clearly has abilities with cursed energy, because that's when she brought Todo along, it seems, and she had that scorpion snake thing. So she definitely has something, and that means that there has to be something in Itadori's bloodline that lets him become this vessel without being taken over. What do you think?
Yeah, I could do that. I can also see the other argument that's Itadori's only able to do this because of Sukuna and things like that. But I feel like it would make sense in the fact that his parents would be gone if they were sorcerers, because we've seen it in other animes where it's we don't want our offspring to be a part of this whole thing, so we're gonna make ourselves disappear from the picture, so they're not drawn into it or feel like they need to follow in their parents' footsteps or something. So it's he's left with the grandfather, and we're gonna be out of the picture because we have our own responsibilities to take care of him. We don't want to wrap him into it. We've seen it in shows, so that is a possibility. And honestly, it's just his mom, so there's just no arguing that.
His mom, indeed.
His mom, indeed,
and his mom's
firecracker.
Itadori's mom is a looker.
not doesn't beat Gojo. Need to make that clear.
Yeah,
Gojo is adorable.
Some stiff competition.
It is stiff competition, bro. I'm just saying. If I had both of them walk up to me and be like, "Will you marry me?" I'd have to look at them both. I couldn't even say that to straight face, bro. It's just Gojo every time.
You're like, what the hell's the debate? Yeah,
it was a debate. Look at those eyes, bro.
Oh man. Point being, though, I'm curious to see if Todo gets more of a backstory with that, or if it's just kind of left to imply that it's maybe, and that would make sense too, that, it's funny that Todo gets the "what kind of women are you into" thing from her, which would be, if it is Itadori's mother, that then he passes on, and it makes sense that Itadori would answer it in a way that he found fitting, because it's that's where he got it from, so it comes full circle. That's why they're best friends, etc. So that would be cool. But I'm curious to see if they go into any sort of episode that highlights his training with her. And, you know, if we don't get anything fleshed out about who she is, how she fights, how she taught him to fight, what he picked up from her, because he clearly picked up some mannerisms, all that kind of stuff. I'm very curious to know, and what her fate was, you know, because like you said before, it could have been, if this was Itadori's mother or not, could have just been like they sent Itadori off because they don't want this, or they could have died. How did they die? Was it some sort of special mission? Was it maybe to save Toto? You know, like things like that. I'm very curious to know the whole backstory with that. And just because Toto is like one of my favorite characters in this show, he's just fantastic. So I want to know everything there is to know about that character. He intrigues me a lot and just makes me laugh and also gets me motivated. So it's like the perfect trifecta. But the fight, getting into the fight and Toto's ability really being revealed, which was hilarious because he already did it. But it like slipped my mind because I'm like, oh, okay. Because Itadori's like, you already did it, didn't you? And I'm like, he did it. What are you talking about? I'm like, oh yeah, duh. Because he gets thrown into the spikes. And I'm like, oh shit, duh. But like now he's really implementing it in such a way that he's throwing Hanami off, right? In this fight where it's like, I have to clap to use it, but then it's like, I don't have to, or I just because I clap doesn't mean it gets used. And like then I could swap two of you, not just me and someone else.
And objects.
And exactly. And it's so long as they have curse energy, and it's like revealing more of it that as Hanami's obviously figuring it out throughout the fight. I felt like we were too, where it's like, oh, okay, this is another layer. This is another layer. And I do love the fact that Toto, as much as I jazz him up, though, in all honesty, I do love the fact that he is this incredibly capable fighter, and he's incredibly silly and somewhat crazy. I mean, all of them are in some way, which makes these characters, to me, lovable, because they're like this misfit group here. But he's very intelligent. He really is, because at least when it comes to battle savviness, there's different kinds of genius, and Toto definitely fits into that like athletic battle awareness mode where he's able to analyze a situation on the fly and come up with this whole strategy in terms of fighting people that, you know, I don't know how that fight would have went if it was a 1v1, but I think it's implied that that special grade is probably more powerful than him in a one versus one. And so like the fact that he's able to figure this out against opponents that are, you know, bigger than him or better than him is something that really attests his character. And at the end too, where he doesn't seem to be the character that just like bull rushes in. Like he loves a good fight, but at the end of the day, he's not stupid, where he says, Itadori, back up. Like he could sense the fact that Gojo's about to just like delete reality, you know, and he's like, you don't want to get caught in it, or like, you know, back up Itadori when he swaps with the weapon. He's a very interesting character to me. I like him a lot for those reasons. He's not so one note as I think some people might peg him to be. I think he's very multi-dimensional, and that's what makes me like him a lot. But anything in particular that you want to talk about? Obviously, we're going to get to Gojo at some point, but I'm curious.
No, but I like because his character almost hints a lot like Gojo, because it's almost that same feel. I mean, obviously, like you mentioned it before, it's like goofy, but then it's like behind that, it's like they're always analyzing stuff and they're going in on it, and it's really cool to get that, and especially during like what I really like about this show is how they integrate comedy with like seriousness that's going on, especially in that fight with Hanami, when even just by clapping, he couldn't have made that any more hilarious in the fight. Like, I could not stop laughing as they're fighting because it's just amazing. Like, it's just like, I don't know. Like, he knows what he's about and he just makes the best of it and he just like thoroughly enjoys it. And I enjoy watching him do it. And it's just, oh my God.
How funny was his inner monologue too when he had his Zenkai boost?
Oh my God.
And like the way to get him to like go into that next level, it's like he's not even talking amongst himself. He's talking with that pop star idol girl or whatever. Oh my God, dude.
Dude, she's the savior too. Like, they just need to get married and move on and on. Although they can't, because then he would just never be able to fight anymore.
Exactly.
But I mean,
I think it's the chase that has to keep him going.
He needs that chase, dude. I can't. Him as a character, bro. Just like,
dude, he's something else, bro. he's something else. Oh man, I think you're right though. I think that and I say this too all the time, that the comedic elements in the show are so perfectly timed and placed, where it's like it doesn't feel that like there are some points where you're like, I can't even take this seriously, but at the end of the day you do take it seriously, and you don't even realize that you're taking it seriously until everything's said and done, and then you breathe and you're like, wow, that just happened, right? It's not that it takes you completely out of it, or it's ill-placed, or it's not funny, right? I think they hit the comedic, which I've said a million times, but I think is so important for a show like this that at some points can be just downright depressing and, you know, pretty disgusting in ways and scary and all that kind of stuff and violent, right? They're not afraid to kill people off in this show, as we've seen, and people that you build an affinity to, you know? And so intermingling that comedy, I feel, is a huge strength that this show has among many other things, you know?
Yeah.
But what else? Hit me with something else.
Oh, dude, all right, so I'm a little salty. I need more on this principal. Like, there definitely is something behind, because every time they show a scene, he has like this dark, deep, depressing look, and it's like, we know he's not the nicest guy, but then another part of me is like, is he that bad? And it's like, you know, from there, it's like yes or no, and then you got to like come up with all the evidence for both sides, and it's like, in a weird way, I can see him in a traitor in a sense, but then it's like the other side of me is like, well, he's the principal of this school, like, would he really go that far down? Especially because it looks like, even though it's twisted, like he wants to kill off Itadori because of the major problem that Sukuna can release on the world, and like they're very against that. Just whole, you know, they don't want Sukuna to even have a chance of being like re-enabled or rebodied into moving camera.
I was like, how that happened?
How'd that happen? Like they don't want him reanimated and, you know, cause trouble in the world. So it's like a part of me understands that, and it's like, okay, maybe you get a little bit of a free pass, although we know Itadori is a G, like. Just stop it. But then another's like it's just there's so many like pull and plays for me with his character that I just want to see him for who he is and like just fully release himself. And that's why when they pan to him fighting and like he just shredded the guitar, I'm like, this is such a badass ability. You can't be a bad guy, because if you are, I need to just redact like this. Like somebody else needs this, because A, it's really cool, and B, it's just so creative. Like I've never seen that. Like I am the amplifier, and when I play this guitar, like that sound wave gets amplified into cursed energy, and what he uses, like, come on, that's amazing and so cool. Like you can't be an evil person, but you are a dick, and like I don't appreciate this, and I want to see more, and I want to get more of your side. And can you just be a nice guy, like be a nice old man? Like you have the whole fit for it. Like he could be that cool grandpa. He plays the guitar. He wears that white t-shirt. He looks like a badass. Like be that hip grandfather that we all want you to be, and stop trying to kill my boy Itadori. And I want to get that full circle. And I also want to see, we know he has a regular relationship with Gojo as a person. So I'm wondering, you know, just really how deep that like rivalry or hatred goes, and to what extent, like, would he be willing to even kill Gojo off of this? And like really like how far does his resentment stem toward Gojo, and what that is going to culminate into? Or, you know, could they really like play nice guy and get along in fights and things like that nature? So I want to see more of that relationship, because it felt kind of weird when it was like, obviously when Gojo came by and he just completely like deleted those guys' arms and legs, and, you know, the principal was like, don't kill him. Like, like that's the thing. It's like you could just overanalyze these situations, but then even then Gojo like hands him off, and he's like, all right, now make sure that you don't kill him. Like that wasn't a friendly exchange by any means. Like it felt like, I don't know, I felt it was what's that word? There was tension in between them.
Passive aggressive.
Like passive aggressive, and I'm like, okay, is this just like your thing? Like, is it really hatred? Like, what's going on here? So I want to get more info just on them too, and really just, are they out to kill each other, or like are they kind of just coexisting in this world, or is it a bit of both? And I don't know. It's very interesting, especially when we get to someone like Gojo, where we know he's just not a pushover. Like he really his battle savviness is insane, and he but beside the facade that he has of being this happy, like very stupid person, like we all know that when the situations are there, he's really thinking about like 8 steps ahead, and in terms of all different like relationship structures and things like that. So I'm just very curious on just that whole situation as a whole.
I totally agree. His ability is just awesome. For starters, he is the amp. That was sweet. just for, you know, just to lay it on there. But I'm curious to know too, is it more of like, I think the real question at the end of the day is the principal for the side of humanity, or is he for the side of power and keeping the status quo? And I think that'll be the difference, because I think at the end of the day, he's against the cursed spirits, right? I think that much is clear.
Yes.
Where it's like, if he has to fight alongside Gojo to realize the goal of not being destroyed, but again, is that because he really wants humanity to survive and he really doesn't, or is it because he wants to maintain whatever the status quo is, or like, you know, be in power, or it's like whatever, or maybe he is on the side, well, what I get from him, he is on the side of humanity. It's just that he's very conservative in the sense that he's like, listen, like Itadori's probably a nice kid, but like, quite frankly, I don't care. You know, it's like, Gojo, we have you as our king piece, you know, on the chessboard here. They have Sukuna. how do they rival us and ever beat us if Sukuna gets out, right? That's the only situation. Okay, how does Sukuna get out? This is a prime way for Sukuna to get out instead of us just doing the finger thing. Now, to be fair, if he's so much of a stick in the mud, we're seeing that the other side, in that the cursed spirits are being able to snatch some of these fingers one by one. So there's also that as well, right? Where it's like he's probably has blinders on to the fact that it's like, yo, you're so concerned about Itadori that you didn't realize that even if we don't have Itadori, these cursed spirits are getting smart, you know, and they have humans now on their side, which is something I wanted to get into. But your plan isn't going to work forever. We have to adapt. We have to evolve. Enter Gojo.
And that's the argument. If he doesn't want to adapt or evolve, does he devolve? And there is an option in that where, you know, he may be for humanity, but if none of the cards are falling in his favor and quite literally against everything that he believes in, there can be room for a switch, I feel. And although he doesn't seem like the person who would switch, we've seen it happen where it is a possibility, especially if they feel like their back's against the wall. So it's very interesting.
I feel like they're fighting for the same thing. Okay, well, maybe I use that term loosely.
I know what you mean,
but though. Like the overarching thing, right? Like humanity, but I feel like their ways of going about it are vastly different, and it's more of the fact that they kind of tolerate each other. Knowing that it's like, if you were out of the way, my ideology, my way of looking at things would be so much easier to implement. But you're kind of in my way. But I think that is important in a sense to have it, because I don't think it's so black and white. As in, you know, obviously the show frames it in a sense that Gojo is obviously in the right, you know, in the way they frame it. But usually things aren't so black and white, right? Gojo is not infallible in the sense that he might be wrong in a certain scenario that he may have overlooked. Maybe we overlooked, we didn't see it yet. We're so swept up in his damn eyes, we didn't see what was going on, right? But like, seriously, there could be something that he overlooked, and it might be good to have an alternate perspective. Now, it's unfortunate that the principal is like the alternate perspective is kill him, you know, in terms of Itadori. Obviously that's extreme, but the point is like sometimes counterbalancing each other and, you know, doing that might not, because Gojo also has the liberty to make these wacky decisions because Gojo is Gojo, you know, because Gojo is like the closest thing you can be to a god. So it's like, yeah, sure, you could make this decision and be like, oh, if Sukuna gets out, like, I think I got him. Right? But, like, what about everyone else, you know, in that scenario?
And again, you're putting all your eggs in Gojo being the one to be able to take him out. Like, yeah, there's a part of Itadori that's like, okay, he might be able to overcome Sukuna's power. Eventually, but it's like, if we know that Sukuna is literally, like, the god of cursed, like, you know, it's like, there's a lot that that's why I feel for the principal in a way, because, like, you're really banking on a lot just working out in favor of Gojo being the savior in a sense, and, like, Itadori being able to, like, hold that power of, you know, Sukuna. And it's like, that not like it's a big risk that you're playing, and the principal wants to mitigate that risk as much as possible. So that's why I'm just curious, where it's like the show's obviously going in the direction that they're going to play the risk, because they're not going to kill off Itadori. And I mean, unless Gojo dies, then it's like, what's going on? That it makes sense why he wants to kill him. So it's very interesting, and I wouldn't write him off like right off the bat, because I think his intentions are in the good place, although wrong. Well, not even necessarily wrong, but it's like we have this predisposition love for both Gojo and Itadori.
Yeah, you got to remember the principal doesn't know Itadori at all. You know, like I think that's the thing, is like through these students getting a little bit more of more insight and enlightenment on Itadori as a character. You know, they're going and a person, they're going to be probably a little more reluctant to go against him. Yeah,
and honestly, the principal probably doesn't want to know about Itadori or even want to be friendly with him, because then again, that's like a direct opposition of his ideology. And like if he builds that relationship, then this whole his whole plan that he wants is never going to be able to succeed. So there's a lot of dynamics going on with that thought process.
Yeah, I'm curious to see that. So two things. One, very quickly, Itadori uses Black Flash, what, 3 times in a row?
Yes, 3.
That was pretty crazy, because he's one off from the record from Kento. So, I mean, not really much to talk about there, except Itadori's built different. That's kind of the whole thing, but kind of implying, like Naruto, the Rasengan thing, the Rasen Shuriken or whatever, like, Itadori's going to be that guy, you know, eventually. And I'm curious to see how his fighting style gets fully fleshed out. And again, I hate to keep comparing everyone to Gojo here, because Itadori is like a baby. He's just started. But like, what ability beats Gojo's? I don't know. Like, what is his ability? Like, controlling space and time, essentially?
Someone in the comments is going to, like,
reality?
It,
what beats that? I'm curious to know, because it's like, yeah, you could be the best fighter ever. but like this man controls fate. I mean, like whatever.
Yeah, I feel like it's
saying.
going to be beat sometime in the future in some way. Like I don't think Gojo is going to be like this all-encompassing presence who's just.
I don't think so either. I think he's going to die. Actually,
I do too.
I think Sukuna is going to kill him. Actually.
Oh, you think Sukuna?
I think
kill him?
I think that there may be something where Sukuna himself does. Well, okay, maybe not. Maybe, well, okay, I don't know if Sukuna can escape Itadori as a vessel, like once he eats 20 fingers, and then it's like they can become two separate entities, or if it has to be one or the other. In that case, then maybe not. Maybe Sukuna will transform and then kill Gojo or whatever, but then at that rate, who beats him? Because if Itadori, he has to kill himself.
That's the question.
So if it's the other way, then, just kind of speculating here, if Sukuna is able to separate himself from Itadori, excuse me, then I think there could be a possibility that Sukuna, left to his own devices, if anyone could beat Gojo, it's Sukuna. And then Itadori is going to have to be the one to beat him. Or here's another alternative. Potentially Gojo gets assassinated. Or like it's not really like necessarily like a fight thing where it's like, holy shit, this like worlds are colliding type thing. But it's like he uses someone maybe like Fuji or whatever. Like he has some sort of ploy that gets, thrown into effect that essentially catches Gojo off guard, or something he didn't see, or something where Gojo doesn't want to kill the other person or something like that. I don't know why, probably looking too far into it, but I remember in the first or second episode, Gojo is talking to Itadori about Sukuna, and Sukuna comes out of his cheek and starts making fun of him, where he's like, how are you not in charge? Like, this should be off strength, nothing more. Shut up, Sukuna. Boom, slaps him. And then he explains Sukuna. He says, Sukuna's the strongest one ever, blah, blah, blah. And Itadori asks, he goes, who would win the fight? And then Gojo looks at him for a second, but he hesitates for like a split second, and he goes, me. I got it. And to me, I was like, I think you're confident that you have it, but I think just because you didn't snap say yes, I think there's a possibility you can lose that. So I think if anyone's going to be able to kill him, it has to only be Sukuna, because like Gojo's like literally like Saitama, dude. Like he comes in, the whole fight's over. It's like we're done. We're just avoiding Gojo, and then we have to do whatever else. So like, unless they have to deal with that the whole time, because Gojo doesn't seem like he's going anywhere in these, in the confines. He's always around them in some way, shape, or form. They got to get him out of the picture somehow, right?
Yeah, and that's
like permanently,
And that's the thing. Because I feel like he wouldn't even be someone that you can necessarily trick, like
true.
and that's the weird part, where it's like they've kind of built him up to be so strong that if the only person that can kill him is Sukuna, how is that physically viable? Especially with the contract that Sukuna has with Itadori, that he can't even touch his companions or teammates. So it's like, it's really just like, how would that even work? I mean, yes, they're gonna figure out something, but it was just the way they set up this power scaling and like who's who and where's on top. It's like it's hard to think of anyone who can match Gojo, because they put him like extraordinarily high on the pedestal. So it's just like, I don't know. And it's not even like Sukuna really has lackeys, because we know his personality. So it's like he's not sending anybody strong out that we know to take out Gojo. So it's like we already kind of see the main cast that we know of for the Cursed Demons and how strong they are. And we know that they're nowhere, like they're leagues away from Gojo. So it's just like, it's a weird thing. And I'd be not upset, but I feel like it would be awkward if they kind of insert, because as far as we know, again, speculation, Sukuna is the strongest cursed demon, or cursed demon that we know. So it's like, it's not like you can insert X random character who can all of a sudden just beat Gojo, because then that would imply that in some way they'd have to rival Sukuna. And it's like, Sukuna, we already know, isn't going to be about that. So it's like, is it a manufactured demon? Is it like what's going on? And that's the thing, where there has to be almost like foul play in some way with either Mojito and his manipulating souls, if there's like some way they're able to create this like demon who would rival Sukuna in power. And I feel like that's just not something that would be naturally bred. Like it would almost have to be like a group effort, and it's like, here, like take our big toe of every like cursed demon and that like create something. Like I don't know. It would, if it's going to be someone, or if it's going to be a cursed demon that kills Gojo, if Gojo is going to die, it would either A, have to be Sukuna, or B, it would have to be some really fleshed out storyline of a character that comes in that is stupid OP powerful, that is able to rival Gojo in some way. And I feel like that latter half for me would be a hard sell unless it's like actually developed
The only other thing I could see, like I said, is if he dies per se, because they could do something where they like nerf his power somehow or whatever, but is an assassination in some way, shape, or form, which is using humans to do it, right? Because Gojo can sense curse energy really well. So I think this actually ties into one of the things I want to briefly touch on here, was the fact that Geto seems to be building not only an army here of curse spirits, but of curse energy users in the form of humans. Because now we get introduced to the other guy with the forward ponytail thing. And we got introduced a couple episodes to the guy that wants to make freaking coat hangers or whatever.
The butcher.
That butcher guy. Yeah. So, like, there are humans that are in the loop on this, because I originally thought it was just Geto. That was just like, here, it's just me. I'm going with the cursed spirits. But it seems like, and it makes sense, that he has, because, again, when you're a cursed user, you kind of play with fire in the sense that you got to be a little batshit crazy in order to do that to begin with. And it's been stated that it's like the abilities you're using are harbored from negative emotions and stuff, because so if you let that overtake you, if you let the fire consume you, you are now just as bad as the things you were fighting. So it totally makes sense as to why he could get easily probably a lot of people that are kind of on the fence to go over to his side that are just a little too crazy. So it seems like he's doing that, and I'm curious to know if those are the only humans, or he has more, or if they're going to recruit more in the future. And my point is here is that the more humans he has, the more of an advantage he's at, because A, it blurs the line and distinction in terms of who you're killing. I mean, the ones that are like straight up crazy and it's like, I'm gonna make a coat rack out of you, like those are pretty easy. You know, but the ones like the one that Itadori, what the hell was his name? Itadori was friends with him, and then Mojito turned him into the freaking thing and they killed him.
Yeah, we know who you're talking about.
That guy, right? Like, that would be an example where it's like you take young, impressionable people or whatever, and it's like you're drawing this moral line. There is number one. Number two, the humans and Geto know a thing or two about humans, right? Like, so do cursed spirits if they try it, but they are a separate entity. Like, humans know humans, and they know how to hurt humans, and they know that it's like, hey, maybe Gojo has this particular weakness for this particular person or thing, or a soft spot, or like this is where he sleeps at night or whatever. And it's like they're able to eventually kind of navigate that, because it seems like Geto is a very powerful asset to have. He seems to be the one pulling all the strings. And at the end of the day, this mission here was actually a success for the cursed spirits, in the sense that they got one of the fingers, which seemed to be the ploy all along. It was really Mojito, who was not in the veil the whole time, who went and just boop, 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 just turned the people into abominations and took the thing. So that's the only way I could see it. But Gojo in general in this episode, let's talk about how amazing he was, obviously. Just pulling the whole Saitama thing. But first of all, those eyes to die for. Second of all, coming and just contorting that one dude. He literally just looked at him, dude, and like his arms and legs not only like seem to have exploded, they seem to have twisted and like spaghettified. Like, oh, that was crazy.
Yeah, I don't know if he just like deleted the space in like his arms or some, or in legs. I don't know, but all I know is that if Gojo looked at me that way, bro, the clothes, like my clothes would just go. That's the thing. Yeah.
Gavin's clothes have been deleted.
No, Gojo was just amazing, and when he just turned like. Bro, when he just made purple using colors, that's it.
That's like, what? It's like an arts and crafts.
He was like, the blue, the red, together, purple. Not only did I forget that blue and red made purple, when he actually did it, I was like, this makes so much sense. And then he just like went boom, and it was like the slowest ball ever to flow through, although it was probably like super fast.
Yeah, because he cleared so much space.
He cleared so much space, and like that was just amazing and honestly terrifying. Like I don't know. I don't know how anybody could just like, that's the thing where it's like you show him that powerful and you're like, what is really going to give him a run for the money, bro? Because like if he can just control space and just like freeze time and just like do that, it's like, what are you going to do? Like if he takes two colors and makes green next time, like what is that? Because I mean, if they're implicating colors now, like there's got to be more than just blue and red. He made purple. He could like there's a whole rainbow out there. Like he could do a lot. So you just need to.
Gojo is the first person in existence to give a color a definition.
Yeah,
like if that makes sense. Like if somebody goes to define blue, that's impossible. You can't define blue. You can't define.
No.
Gojo was the first man who gave a definition to purple.
For purple.
He literally did purple.
Yeah. Literal destruction.
Like, if you want to know power, like that's power. He just did the impossible. He gave a definition to something that cannot be defined. Like, what?
When he was a kid and he was coloring, they wouldn't give him the color purple. So he just held like resentment against that his whole life. And it was like, I'm going to make purple as strong as possible.
That was crazy.
Just to get my revenge.
I think Anami got out of there, though. The cursed
Oh,
spear.
Hanami, definitely. I mean, if they never show the body, like even Toto went as far to say like we couldn't even tell if he got exorcised or not, and it's like, all right, you could just say that he's alive. Like I would really take that because you can't try to play that he's dead and then just come back in the future and be like, ha ha ha, we didn't show you dead. Like, bro, I got you. You ain't playing jokes on me, JJK.
Yeah, straight up alive.
Straight up alive. And again, I wonder in the future how that. Now he knows Toto and his fighting style. So, obviously, if paired up against him again, not going to be easily, literally whopped on that he was with Itadori because he's going to have, like, an inclining on what's going on. I'm wondering how, if they do fight in the future, how that's going to change fighting style-wise and also just how much of a powerhouse Hanami comes into because we already know, talking to, I believe, Mojito was a couple episodes ago where it was like, why do you fight in your essence of fighting and all that? And then he goes into that whole back monologue that we know that, like, Hanami is having more development on the bad side, and you know, is that going to culminate into, now that this fight is over, like hardcore putting in the work with that negative energy and like trying to come up with like more even scary nature
Not to mention, we didn't even see the strongest technique that Hanami seems to have in their arsenal.
Also true.
In the fact that almost used solar beam with the freaking flower, but then stopped. So what's the deal with that, right? I don't know. That was, that's going to be some crazy stuff. But, I mean, Itadori is growing at an exponential rate. So if anyone's going to be able to put in the work, you know, that's what it's going to be against them. Yeah, and I'm curious to see in these future episodes. I mean, it looks like we're playing baseball next episode. So, like we were saying, I think it's going to be more of, like, cultivating the relationships and the friendships and what it means to be human and all that kind of stuff for a little bit until we get into... I don't know how many episodes there are supposed to be in total, but if there's like some big thing that happens, like cliffhanger thing that happens at the end of this, I would assume it's like 24 episodes probably seems to be the standard. Anyway, point being is that this is like the lulls that they take. So, but I'm curious because I don't think this coat hanger guy is going to talk. Because they're going to question. So. But I'm curious to see if Gojo has the ability to be like, it doesn't matter if you talk or not. Like, I'm able to, like, see within reality. I can read your mind. Like, yeah, I can read your mind or something ridiculous like that. So, like, I already know what the deal is. But I think that they didn't tell that coat hanger guy much purposely because I think they went into this plan to get that finger knowing that one of those people could not make it back alive or could get captured, and they were fully well aware of that.
Well, they were manipulated from the start because they were under the impression that this veil was going to be up for much longer. They didn't really know all the stipulations.
Yes,
like they weren't given all the information from the get-go, so it's like you already know that they were just pulling, Mojito and like gang were pulling strings from behind. And yeah, they wouldn't want to give them enough information to where they would be able to rat out all those plans.
Yeah, so I don't think it's going to do much, unfortunately.
I'm excited for this baseball episode because I have a weird feeling it's gonna be like cursed energy baseball, where it's like they hold a bat and it's gonna be like cursed energy and like bam, like they smack the baseball and it's like they're jumping really high. Like I don't know, I feel like it's gonna be like baseball on crack, and I kind of am hoping for that because that would honestly be really funny. And then who knows, some probably like Mojito's gonna jump down and be like, "This is my game now," and do something stupid. Probably not, but
excited for the Jujutsu scrolls.
That too.
Yeah, poor Panda.
Somebody just needs to give him like some bamboo to munch on or something. Like he just needs.
He deserves it.
Needs support
after these episodes. The Panda Dash when he got away.
Oh my God, Panda Dash!
Panda!
I love him, dude. Amazing.
Anyway, I think that's everything. Yes. Right? Covered everything.
Yeah, hopefully. If not, get bent. No, it's fun. It's a great show.
No, for sure. I like the show a lot. It kind of came out of nowhere for me. And it was just like, oh, what's this JJK thing? And people kind of recommended it. And then we watched it and I was like, this is really good.
The only show that could put that song in a fight scene and for me to be happy and hyped about it. So it's like they're just doing everything right.
Yeah, fantastic. Anyway, folks, that is our discussion. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you guys are dropping a like on this video. Also, subscribing to the channel, hitting that bell if you are new here to the channel so you don't miss any future videos. Like I said, subscribing to AoA Reacts as well. Link is in the description down below so you can catch our live reaction to this episode and every other Jujutsu Kaisen episode coming up and prior. Also, comment your thoughts down below. What did you think of our discussion today? Is there anything that we may have missed or glossed over? Anything that stuck out to you in particular, had a profound impact? Where you think the story's going with any sort of predictions? questions. Obviously not spoiling anything if you have read it already. Yeah, let us know all those thoughts in the comments down below. Big shout out to our patrons, especially our Acolytes of Anime. We have Stoic and we have Nathan. Couldn't do it without you guys. Love your beautiful faces. And also, don't have a comment of the day for you, but I do have a question. And the question is, how many times did Itadori use the Black Flash in succession? Answer that question, and your comment might just turn up on our next week's discussion. But until next time, we'll catch you all on the flip. Peace.
Later.
Ninjas and samurais, blazing the kunais. Find me in the leaf of the cloud, screaming out Bankai. We just some ghouls though, who like seeing parts fly. They like what you saying, Goma got more through the storylines. I tested your neck from the start. My hunters gon' come for your heart. I promise you'll land in my boulevard. Left them in one piece, no.